We're live. Yes, we're live. I just had to make sure everybody was not doing any kind of dirty sign language or saying curse words or anything. So, welcome to the Baseball Roundtable. This is our show number two. Last week we had a couple people cancel, but we are just probably going to be able to get better each time we do this. And today we're going to talk about some position scarcity. We're going to talk about inflation. We're going to talk baseball. Hopefully we get to the stuff that we have planned. Today I'm joined by Mitchell Hartson. Say hi, Mitchell.
Hello, everybody.
Bobby Baseball. That's Bobby Kleinow. Say hi.
Hi,
we
everybody.
have Douglas. Everybody knows Douglas. And Malpal. We're so lucky. Malpal has joined us tonight.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming and joining us. Okay. So let's go ahead and just get started. I have on our rundown here of notes that we're going to each give a nugget. I'm not sure that everybody has a nugget, but it's kind of like Lenny's nuggets, which are bits of information that will help you. Everybody's drafting right now, so that's what we're going to try to do. We're trying to help people draft. We're trying to help people get better, draft a better team. And I am in the middle of a draft right now, but it's draft season. We'll put it that way. So let me go ahead and start with whoever wants to start. Whoever has a nugget, the first nugget.
There are two kinds of nuggets. There are interesting things and there are things that are useful. And I'm going to give you a totally useless, interesting thing. Remember how everyone was going nuts about Chris Davis hitting 249 3 years in a row?
Yes.
Cesar Hernandez has had a 981 fielding percentage each of the last 5 years.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. Good. I like that tidbit. I'll give a tidbit, a nugget that I actually got from Douglas today, and I'll put the link in the chat room, and I'll put it where else. I'll put it places. But it's a new pitch tracker, which is on a Google document, and it's who runs this? Somebody that
I think it's Jason Collette, UCF alumni. Jason Collette lives in Tampa, just down the road.
Yes, Jason Collette, great writer. Okay, but he has a Google Doc that has all of the new pitches from, are these all this year? Right? These are all this year.
Yeah, he's got links to either blog posts or to Twitter, mentions or whatever. But people who've either changed it or whatever, and he considers a new pitch anything that somebody has thrown through less than 5% last year. Like Aroldis Chapman has a new split finger, so he did throw it 2% of the time last year.
Yeah, and it's linked to every article that tells you about it. Some of the guys are on here more than once, which means like they either reshaped a pitch that they have, they added a new pitch. Depending on how much you like that stuff, that's that. But I'll put the link in the chat room, and we'll go from there. Anybody next?
Yeah, I'll throw one out.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Carter Kieboom, almost a post-hype player. Very disappointed. A lot of teams wanted the Nats in trade discussions. They would start the trade discussions by wanting Carter Kieboom. He has not performed. He hit 2 barrels all last year. Now that's in limited number of at-bats. He's going to be given a shot again with the opening third base gig. And he had laser eye surgery. Unless I'm mistaken, Tommy Pham did that a couple years ago. Am I right or am I incorrect?
Right.
I'm going to talk about Tommy Pham, but go ahead.
Is that right?
Okay, I won't talk about Tommy Malpal.
Tommy Pham did have the eye surgery.
But what I'm saying is, I think that's a kind of nugget that they just don't. People don't just want our opinions on who's sleepers and whatever. What data do we have that is not widely known? And I don't think that's widely known. But I think it's germane.
No, it is. It's good.
Didn't Freddie Freeman have eye problems for a while?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I always think of it was Brian McCann on the Braves when he had the eye surgery. He couldn't see right for about 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the negative side of it. He had to get repair surgery.
Yeah, it can get screwed up just like anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something to watch.
Antonio, I don't know. Antonio's here, but it doesn't say that his devices are connected. So, Antonio.
Yeah, I can't.
try to connect your devices and or restart the page, and we'll get you in. I see that you're here, so hopefully you can see the chat room. Go ahead next.
I have a couple Padre nuggets since I'm here.
Go ahead.
And
Go ahead.
kind of going, feeding off on Tommy Pham. He is really struggling. As you know, he has a history of eye issues, and he is really fighting it. It's been reported this spring. He's had 10 at bats. He's got 6 strikeouts. But the big problem is he's trying to find the right set of contact lenses so that he can see. And he's been messing around with that all spring, and apparently he hasn't hit the jackpot yet on what's working. And it's a new kind of lens. It's and it hasn't really been used before. So I would say everyone, he's one guy in spring you should really follow, especially the last 2 weeks, to see if he can get on track. He's, like I said, he's had a history, as you know, and he's still fighting it. Plus, he's coming off a really bad injury. People heard about it, during the off season, just shortly. But I think I saw he was 70% still, only from the stab wound that he took outside my favorite strip club. So.
Malpal, what do you think that Jurickson Profar will get some more playing time because of this, or what? Is Jurickson Profar the guy?
He would be the 4th outfielder for sure, yeah, because they'll go Myers, Grisham, Pham, and Profar would be the 4th outfielder. Profar's going to play anyways because the Padres don't throw $7 million out there to have a guy just sit on the bench. That's not what they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, one sec. Let me welcome Antonio, the Promise Thomas, Mr. Friend of ours. How are you doing? I was going to ask you to get dressed up. In your costume.
No.
But we can't see you really anyways. We wouldn't be able to see the full. People might think you're crazy. Anyways, welcome aboard, dude. Douglas, your turn.
Well, I was going to say something about the Padres thing. Like this is something I always like the foreign imports. I like guys from Korea. I like guys from Japan, Cuba. Somebody asked me this question in the things where they email me, and they said, "Can I name one Korean batter that has been any good in Major League Baseball?" And there really hasn't been one. Sin-Chu Chu was brought over at 17, but nobody has ever really. Can you think of anybody that's come from that league that has been a hitter?
We have feedback coming from somebody's feedback.
It's probably me. No,
I didn't hear it earlier. Antonio, make sure your sound.
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Let me get it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then I mean that's just one thing. It's like I because of that I'm more pro Profar because I think that Kim's job is going to be the utility.
He does not go early in drafts at all. He is like sitting there way late for a guy that can actually get some stuff done, right?
Profar.
I mean,
20 home runs, 15 steals.
So
if he gets 450 at bats.
Okay.
Who's
Bobby?
that, Kim?
Profar.
I will just tell you, Kim
Profar.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Kim? You like him?
All I can say is from the eye test, he looks overmatched so far. But
okay.
He's a thick guy though, so I can see the pop coming. But I don't think he's going to start at second base. They got him playing all over the place. That I don't have an answer on what's going to happen at second base long term.
Yeah,
I'd avoid it.
Avoid second base. I was going to go into position scarcity, but that's not next on our list because position scarcity makes me think of second base. Bobby, did you go with you? Did everybody give a nugget? Lenny would be so proud.
I didn't give a nugget.
I didn't give one. Okay,
I've been quiet. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Here.
We can hear you good. Bobby?
He's frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Just stand really still. It's scary.
Which one is it that is frozen? Bobby or Antonio? I don't think Bobby's frozen.
I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
Bobby should move a little bit just to get me.
This is only our second
Rock your
time.
head a little bit.
Bobby, go.
Right.
I know he's frozen now. Look at
I didn't really give a nugget. I'm not that I have like some great things, but this is one thing I want to say.
Okay.
Gregory Polanco had this one great day, and then all of a sudden, draft wise, and he was picked immediately. And I think that's kind of silly. I mean, he's going to be an okay player. He's going to have a job, but there's nothing about it. Was just one day. He went to the winter leagues, and his slash line in the winter leagues this year, working up, was 197, 276, 342. He's just not that good of a player. If you're drafted him in the 27th round or something, that's fine. But this guy was drafted in the 23rd round, which is still active. You have 10 pitchers and whatever. It's still active players. It was a mistake. Don't do it.
Yeah. How about a nugget, Antonio?
Yeah, actually, I have a couple of them. I came prepared, but so this is a guy that's gonna, especially in mixed leagues, might get overlooked. But I really like Robbie Grossman as a sleeper player to get at bats. A lot of people don't even realize that AJ Hinch is the new manager in Detroit. He goes back to Houston where Grossman played. Grossman's a candidate to bat leadoff. Quietly, he hit 8 home runs, had 8 stolen bases last year. His average was 241 last year, but he gets on base. And AJ Hinch said himself, he's made a huge difference for the younger players, teaching them plate discipline. And Grossman has that late 90s Yankee mentality of being aggressive while also working the count and building up that pitcher count. So I think he can have a lot of good effects on the rest of that young staff. Lineup, especially a guy like Willie Castro, a guy like Nomar Mazara, who's looking to get his career back on track. There's and Jason Beck reported on this too. I was listening to Baseball Tonight, and there's a lot of players that I like on Detroit. But AJ Hinch, the manager, has that connection with Grossman.
Great tidbit. Great nugget, my friend. You said you have more than one.
Oh, yeah. Again, sticking with Detroit, Tarek Skubal, the young, hard-throwing lefty. Hinch said he loves his confidence. He loves his poise. And Skubal came in to camp on a mission to win a spot. And you got guys like Jose Urena and Julio Teheran that are competing for a back end, spot in that rotation. So, there's a guy, maybe he if he doesn't come up or start the season, on the opening day roster, I think that's a guy that's definitely going to be up within the first 2 months, I think. And then I mentioned Willie Castro. I really like him. He's competing with Grossman for leadoff spots, but Miguel Cabrera, he's playing the field in spring training more, and Hinch said that the last couple of years he didn't feel like he was a part of the team. It took a toll on his hitting. He's 13 homers from 500. He's 134 hits from 3,000. Don't think that that's not going to play a meaningful role in how much playing time he gets. Mike Foltynewicz, backing up what Lenny said, when he last pitched in July, his fastball topped out at 90. Yesterday, it got no lower than 94, and it peaked at 97. And on the flip side of that, last one, guy that I've always loved, kind of like my Will Myers on the pitching end, was Garrett Richards. He's with my Red Sox. I want to root for the guy, but there were some even Alex Cora said yesterday, there were some things. He's trying some new things. He's going through a new delivery, and there's a lot of things left to be worked out there. So anyone's thinking that Garrett Richards is, going to give you 120 innings of stellar stat lines, think again. Be cautious.
For sure. You said you're a Red Sox fan. You must wait a minute.
You're getting an echo.
Feedback. What?
Yeah, you're getting an echo.
Okay, go ahead, Bobby. I'll be quiet for a second. If you want to go with a nugget, I'll fix my audio. Bobby
is motionless again.
Forget it. Okay.
Is Andrea frozen now?
No, there he is.
He's not frozen. Does he have a mic on?
Bobby, put headphones in. Do you have headphones in?
Is he a ventriloquist?
I can see the ceiling fan. The ceiling fan is
Why am I
muted.
frozen right now? You can't hear me?
I think he's muted.
I can hear you.
No, I'm not
Am I
muted.
muted?
Oh, okay, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
This is so weird. Okay, can you hear me now? I don't hear my echo anymore, okay?
You're
You
good.
sound good. Yeah.
Like I didn't do anything, but I'll pretend I did. We're going to move to the next. Bobby, did you give it?
Yes.
Are you ready to give a nugget?
So can everybody hear me first and foremost?
Yes.
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 We can hear you.
All right, good. So the one guy that's really undercover for me that I'm really interested in, and I know this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but I'm really liking Jordan Yamamoto. So I know he's going highly undrafted in a lot of leagues, and I know he's going to be in the Mets minor league site to begin with, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. He went to the Driveline Academy. Andrea, I know you're a fan. Trevor Bauer, and what that has done. Yamamoto pitched 3 innings today, no earned runs, 3 strikeouts. He just looks good, and the Mets have 4 starters that are pretty much set up. That 5th starter between Lucchesi and Peterson, I just see Yamamoto creeping up. I think he's the guy that you got to keep an eye on, and he's young. He's 24 years old as well. So I think the Marlins might have sold a little bit low on him, and the Mets capitalized. So I'm really interested to see what he can do. The other guys I'm interested in is Ryan Yarbrough of the Rays. Now that with Morton gone and some of the other clutter in the rotation, I think Yarbrough. I always liked his stuff. Not like top tier K stuff, but I think he can kind of be like this dark horse 15 game winner. So just something to keep an eye on. He had a decent ERA last year, 3.7, 3.8, something like that. So Brian Yarbrough, another guy to keep his eye on. And I know Kevin Cash likes him as well. So whenever your manager likes you, it's always good to make a note of those guys.
For sure. Ryan Yarbrough is listed as the number 2 starter, which, if you can imagine that. Didn't he used to be the opener? I know he got a bunch of wins one year, like crazy. Anyway.
Hey, Andy, can I give you one more real quick one that I had that I think is kind of important?
Yeah.
Is this the San Diego closer do not get suckered in by Mark Melanson?
Why?
He's been, like Lenny said, watch when he's coming in. He is coming in the second inning of games. He's looked awful. And I will say this, I was reading Keona Kayla has a long relationship in the minor league systems with Jace Tingler, who's their manager, and he's speaking very highly of him. And he's the best arm in their bullpen, him and Pomeranz. So he's worth the flyer if you're dipping into that San Diego closer situation.
Okay, Malpal, I already have him on a couple. I think I already have Melanson on one of my teams, but okay, good point of interest. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to grade the trade. I came up with that today. I'm sure I'm not the first one that came up with it, but okay, I think it sounds cool. Antonio is in, and I'm going to have you set this trade up a little bit because I did put it in the notes, but since it's your trade, I'd like to know kind of like the situation? Do you have other closers? Do you have somebody who's going to replace these players and stuff like that? So go ahead and tell us about your trade offer.
So this was so Malpal is in this league as well. It's an American League only league, 5x5 roto, and you get one hitter and one keeper pitcher that was drafted in the 8th round or later the previous year. So my best pitcher I have Aaron Savali, who I really like, and then I have Ryan Presley as my pitcher keepers. On the hitter side, I have Nate Lowe, I have Cesar Hernandez, David Fletcher, and Victor Reyes. And I was offered Presley. I give up Presley and one of those guys for Teoscar Hernandez. Now, I know Teoscar Hernandez in American League only, a lot of preseason rankings, is a top 30 guy. I know he's number 26 for RotoWire. His speed he's got top 85 percentile speed. He lowered his strikeout rate last year. But he's, I take last year as a kind of a small sample size. I mean, it was 60 games, and I'm leaning towards possibly doing it. But at the same time, I heard what Lenny said today about Paradise backing up Ryan Presley. I really like Ryan Presley. He's always had a great K per 9 inning ratio. I've just been burned with closers before when I've kept them. And something in me, David Fletcher is not a great roto guy, but he's he's leading off for Anaheim, and he's 26. Something in the back of my head says this guy could be the next David Murphy, to go from a 6 or 7 home run infielder to being a 15 to 20 home run infielder. So I'm 50-50 on it, and I want to know what people think.
So who would be your pitcher that you're keeping if you got rid of Presley? You keep Savali as your one pitcher?
Well, this would be after our draft. So I can only keep Savali or Presley. And I'm also thinking about keeping Savali and possibly one of those hitters.
So what do you think the situation will be? Do you know who the player pool consists of right now, or is it secret? It's secret, right?
Yeah, most places secret.
Yeah, we don't know exactly who the keepers are going to be, and then we got 3 new owners, Malpal's being one of them. So, my mindset was going into an only league with a possible 30 homer, 10 steal guy. That would make me feel more comfortable taking that extra pitcher maybe in the early rounds, knowing that I think after the first couple of picks, I think a lot of the AL players are very fungible. I think
I would go for that trade. I would do it.
Yeah. I say do it too.
Yeah,
I don't think it's close because you don't have an elite hitter on that list that you showed.
Right.
This guy's a stud. So yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
My only question is, it's an AL only league, and I don't play in those kind of leagues. I mean, we talk about pitching scarcity. The one thing that's always scarce is relief pitchers, closers. Having an actual closer, having 2 closers in a 12-team league, there's only 15 closers. That seems like a real advantage.
But there's no closers.
Saves is a category in a 5x5, right?
Yeah,
you're using saves.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you could be one of the few teams that has two guys that get saves, isn't that a real advantage? It automatically puts you in the 15, 14, or the 12, 11, 10 part of the game.
Yes and no, because there's some guys in that league, in both only leagues I'm in, they love drafting closers early. They're going to take Aroldis Chapman in the 4th round. Last year, Liam Hendricks went in the 5th round. And to me, that's way too early. I sat back last year because of the way the draft went. I drafted Sergio Romo. I picked up Trevor Rosenthal during the season as a free agent. before he got the closer job. So, how many closers in each league kept their jobs for the whole season?
There are about 7 closers in the entire major leagues.
Right.
They're rated with job stability of high or very high. 7.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know why closers and catchers, why would you ever draft them early? Closers and catchers have the most unreliable in a draft.
I'd like to drop catchers altogether.
Yeah, 100%. I get a guy like JT Realmuto gets, people get excited about him, but there's just a huge drop off there. And even him, he's not Piazza type or anything really to get super. He's a player. Right. But when we're talking about closers, man, closers are use Edwin Diaz as your prime example. There's a guy, and I know I'm a bitter Mets fan, and I'm still caught up in that Kalenic trade.
I would advise you against drafting bad closers.
Yeah, of course, but Diaz is the perfect example. You expect a guy like Diaz to be Mariano Rivera, and everything I read
about anybody thought Diaz was going to be Mariano Rivera? Was there anybody but him?
Brody Van Wagenen.
But he was kind of nuts too,
So this is my thinking. A save, unless you're Josh Hader and you're pitching, you're getting over 100 strikeouts, a year, and he's, and even him drafting him is a reach in the early rounds. I would rather take more than likely sure thing hitter in the 4th or 5th round, and then take an Anthony Bass or a Hunter Harvey or a Tanner Scott in the later rounds. A save is a save in that counting stat. Unless the reliever gets bombed in an outing, it's not going to kill your ratios that much with those. If you got a Brian Harvey type or a Joe Borowski has a 5 ERA but gets 35, 40 saves. The main thing is the save, and I'd rather take the sure thing in that early round hitter or maybe a pitcher, and then take that lesser known closer, whoever's going to be with Detroit, if it's Brian Garcia or that's my thinking, and it's so interchangeable. There's 4 guys in Oakland that could close because I'm not buying Trevor Rosenthal.
Well, he's hurt now too.
Yeah.
What do you think of the trade, Malpal?
Well, especially in this format where you're only freezing 2 guys, it's pretty simple for me. I always go for greatness, so I will always go for the best player and then figure out the rest in the draft. Because
who's the best player? Is it Teoscar?
Hernandez has the best upside. He's got the biggest chance at greatness in 2021. He's got a ton of power. He's a 30 home run guy, and he's on a great hitting team. So he could explode, or he could hit 220, but he's still going to hit 20 homers. But I'll always go for the guy with the upside in this situation without question and figure it out later. It's a long season.
Hey, Douglas, did you go? Did you tell him what you think of the trade? I think you did.
All I said is I like Oscar Hernandez a lot. I was just wondering if the situation, from what he said, some people in his league do feel that relief pitchers have a better value. He doesn't, and I don't play in those leagues because, it's just like you neither. If somebody gets hurt, the game's over. So I haven't played in an only league, and I played that one 3 years ago with you, Andrea.
Oh, dude, that was a horrible league for me. I finished so bad in that league. These only leagues are really tough, and I would decide on the trade based on how easy would it be to replace this person. And Teoscar Hernandez is like, he's up and coming. He hits the ball really hard.
How are the salaries
to replace? Presley's even harder to replace.
I don't agree with that. I believe that there are a lot of possible closers I'm
with Mitch. There's a 50% chance, just doing the historical math, that Presley won't be closing the whole year.
Everything that somebody makes an argument about closers being unpredictable is 100% just as true for starting pitchers. Yet people are so comfortable drafting starting pitchers in the first round.
No, because I'm not. Yeah,
It's like I'm not saying go in the 5th round for a relief pitcher, but I feel you need to start picking them. You want to get like the back end of the better closers and start picking in the 9th, 10th, 11th round to get your closers in, because it's a real advantage.
How's the salary different,
12
Antonio?
points for saves is equal to
So
12 points for strikeouts.
we do
So-
know there will be quite a few closers thrown back in the pool, right? I mean, you can
Yeah.
only keep a player if
there's, even though it's an only league, there are always, every day, there's very streamable starting pitchers. You have to speculate a lot more, which is why I like the only leagues, because,
every only league I ever played in, it's like there'd be maybe 5 starting pitchers that would appear every year. Everyone else was just taken.
It's
that
tough.
important.
It's tough.
Because it's the same thing with the thing. It's like you have 5 starting pitchers per team, means there's 45 starting pitchers. You have 12 teams in your league. Each one needs 5. That means they need 60. You got 60 positions for 45 players. It's a shortage that everybody plays. Everybody plays, and I don't know where these guys come from, but admittedly, I haven't been playing these.
No, they're there. It just
They're there.
you gotta. No, I know from playing in this league. Both these leagues go back to the 80s. So when I started playing them in the late 90s, and I have mixed leagues too. But I for some reason I like the challenge of
only leagues, no challenge whatsoever. It's pretty much on the 7th day of the season, who's going to win.
No, not at all. Not at all.
You're injured, major injuries. That's the only thing.
No, injuries happen to everyone's team, and that doesn't. There's so much turnover. There's.
Well, all right. We can disagree on that.
We can agree to disagree, Doug. That's fine.
What I'm saying is that if you say there's always relief pitchers there, and you're also saying there's always starting pitchers there, why are people drafting pitchers so high?
Because of the inning balance.
The quality innings that you get. I agree with that. That I think starting pitching does deserve to go higher. I mean, it's a little bit more reliable. I mean, I think it's significantly more reliable than relief pitching. Now, I mean, injuries, bad years can happen, but by and large, I think we've covered this. They just don't stick. And Antonio, the one other piece that I wanted to add for you, if you're even mulling going with Presley, is I have a friend who's in scouting for a major league team, and we were actually talking about the Astros closing scenario, and he said in the Astros ranks they have Enoli Paredes very high on there. So don't discount that as well. They're going to want to get him some action there as well. So I wouldn't too much in
and Presley. Also, there's 11 teams in this league. There's 15 teams in the American League. 16 teams. So that's 80. Yeah, so that's 80. So that's 7 starters per team if you drafted every starter on opening day. Those aren't going to be the starters for the rest of the year. Plus you have your relievers. Bullpens are deeper than ever. So there's always pitching of it. When I say streaming, I don't mean necessarily they're good streaming options, but there are pitchers to choose from where if you wanted to stream somebody that day with a matchup that you liked, they're available. And you can pick up a minor leaguer a couple weeks or a month before you think he's going to come up and possibly be a difference maker and stash them. So it's a different strategy. I like both of them, mixed league and only leagues. But that's why there's all different leagues. It depends on what you like. It depends the scoring, head to head, roto, points leagues. So that's why we play in the leagues that we like.
I didn't mean it to be about the only league. It was about the players. Is what I'm talking
about. No, sure.
Okay.
It seems like if you're making an argument that relief pitchers you can sort of punt, I don't understand why.
No, I didn't say punt.
Punt's too much, but you can sort of put it on the back burner.
Not on the back burner, but you're not going to take It's just like investing. You're not going to buy a stock that has a high volatility and pay $150 per share for it. You're going to buy something, you're going to pay $150 for Apple or for something solid that you know is going to, you can put it there, and then, you know, you're going to throw money, you know, at the volatile stocks you think you can really get a winner on. You're going to throw lesser dollar amounts at those. So
players playing in the American League, let's say, how many of those guys aren't volatile?
Okay, let's move on. Okay, we made our points here totally.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some statistics and what we like to look at. Mitch brought this one up about stabilized, like when do stats stabilize? Which ones are better for predicting in like in small sample sizes? Youngsters don't have a lot of stats to go by. Like we do know that some stats stabilize faster than others. Strikeouts, walk rates, like those you could tell right away with pitchers and hitters. What are some of the stats that you guys use to predict? What's your favorite? Look at Mitchell showing us his phone.
Joe.
Go ahead, Mitchell.
Okay, this is from Anthony Perry. I don't know if people can see this.
Let me make you big.
I want to give a shout out to Lenny Melnick, because Lenny Melnick has said he sits there with his pad and his paper during a draft, and he keeps tracks of home runs and steals, and he was right on the money. This has been saying this for years. But I have here from Anthony Perry the actual correlation coefficients for hitting and pitching, and the best predictor for hitting is home runs, followed by runs scored, followed by batting average. The home runs is a 0.6 correlation, which is very high.
What does that mean, this correlation coefficient? Does this mean that like
the correlation coefficient goes from -1 to +1? It's a statistic.
What does it mean?
It's a measure of association. So what I'm saying is that if you have about the only inverse correlation you would ever find would be there should be an inverse relationship between strikeouts and base hits, for example. That was my hypothesis. But he doesn't really talk. Perry didn't talk about inverse. He did mention that. The worst predictor for hitters, I got that backwards. The best predict. Let me start over again. Home runs 0.68, stolen base 0.74.
Okay, go ahead.
The best predictors out of the 5 measures for a pitcher, the best predictors are whip 0.51 and strikeouts, which doesn't surprise anybody in this room. Okay, so whip and strikeouts, wins and saves are bad predictors. ERA is a bad predictor. And why is ERA a bad predictor? Because you have fielding independent pitching, and there are so many variables that affect the pitcher's ERA. I'll give one example. I'll shut up and let someone else talk. John Lester, except for 2 starts last year against the White Sox, in each case he got racked. John Lester's ERA for last year would have been around 3.55, except for 2 starts. That's why the ERA, according to this particular theory, is not a particularly good predictor. But strikeouts, we all know that. Everybody knows Ks.
I agree with you on that. And last year, if a pitcher had one bad outing, his ERA was all screwed up. That's why what about the pitchers that we don't have a lot of data on, that we can't look back and say, like, we know what John Lester's ERA normally looks like, right? And we know that if he had 2 bad outings last year, that it was going to mess it up. So you say to yourself, like, I can pretty much figure out that we're going to throw that one out. We're going to give him a break on that one. What about youngsters, though? What do you do for?
Can I share what I do for pitching that I've used for 30 years?
Yeah.
I use one thing, and it doesn't necessarily narrow it down for any year. I use one formula for starting pitchers. It's always been ground ball rate plus strikeout rate. If it's over 70, you got an elite talent that you should put at the top of your list. 65 to 70 is going to be super solid. 60 to 65 is your average pitcher. Anything below that, avoid. And
wow.
If you do that
ground ball rate, that's good.
Ground ball rate plus strikeout rate, right? And if it's 70, it's good.
That's
Really
solid,
cool.
Malpal. I like
It's
it.
elite. And if you look at guys, I think the most interesting guy this year is Kevin Gausman. His strikeout rate, I was looking at it, it went from like 22%, which is barely average, to 33% last year. If he can keep that strikeout rate, he becomes a pitcher you want to look at. But it was in such a short period. Was that just an illusion? He could, because if he falls back, he's a terrible pitcher.
I love it.
He's in a good ballpark, Millball, too.
Right. And another
I'm
guy
sorry, but he is. Go ahead.
Going back to your minor league thing, I think you can look at minor league things. If you look at guys in history, and I was looking at like Ian Anderson. That guy has elite skills in the minor leagues, and he carried it forward in even 60-game season. So that's the type of guy I would put a ton of money on if I was betting on a breakout type rookie guy, is because he's like at 74% historically in the minor leagues. So that's what I look at. That's how I rank them, usually a couple days before the draft. So that, because it takes a little bit of work, but not too much. You go on Fangraphs and pick the numbers.
What's his name? Say his name again real quick, and then we'll move over to Bobby.
Ian Anderson from the Braves.
Oh, yeah. He's a fan favorite, so you're not getting any
favorite,
discount.
but he's got the backing. The numbers support it. Is all I'm saying. So that's how I do it.
I don't know the question, Bobby. Whatever you have written down for this specific topic, I think I understood the question wrong. So I'm absolutely fine with whatever it is that you have.
Yeah, well, the stats that I look at that always get me excited are I actually look less at home runs, and I look more at RBIs and batting average. That's always the predictors for me. Which, I've definitely been wrong in my life, but the one guy who kind of encompasses that a little bit for me, and I know a lot of guys are down on him right now, is I'm really interested in Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds is a bat the ball guy, hasn't had a lot of power, but in his first year when he came in fourth in Rookie of the Year voting, I just like what I saw with the guy, and he was a bat the ball guy. He kind of reminded me of a poor man's Jeff McNeil. And that's the kind of guy that a guy that can kind of round out my lineup. So batting average for me kind of takes center stage. Obviously, the ability to drive in runs, and then pitching wise, K to walk ratio. I mean, we've covered that. It's just a great predictor for current success and future success, especially when looking at the minor leagues and how that translates. So I look heavily into that as well.
Douglas.
Hello. Oh, I kind of interpret this differently. I thought we were talking about.
Me too, dude. Don't worry. Whatever you interpreted is fine.
Well, we were talking. I thought it was like we only have 60 games of data last year, and the minor leaguers didn't play. How are we going to predict people this year?
Okay.
And you have no choice with them. I agree with Bobby that the only thing you really look at minor leaguers, especially on the pitching side, is how bad their walk rate is, because everything else can change. And so if they have trouble walking players in the minors, they're going to have trouble walking players in the majors, and that's going to be somewhere that they're going to find a downfall in that. The K to walk rate is a great stat that way. As far as major league players go, there's different types of statistics out there, and like most of them are coincidental, like home runs. If a guy hits a home run, you get a home run. But which ones are predictive are the ones that are what I would call their characteristics of the person. Like you've heard me talk up Teoscar Hernandez, right? Because the reason I like Teoscar Hernandez this year is because of how hard he hits the ball. Because hitting the ball hard is a characteristic of who he is, as opposed to whether it goes over the fence, which is a statistic that happens. As long as you hit the ball, if you hit the ball very hard 100 times, more often than not, good things are going to happen.
I don't know, dude. What if you have a launch angle like Vladdy Jr. and then you don't hit it over the wall?
Or Christian Yelich when he was on the Marlins. Yeah, that does happen, but it does. But even with that, if you hit the ball hard on the ground, you're going to get more hits
for sure.
It's not going to be as good of a hit, but at the same time, launch angle is one of those things which is people tend to swing the same way. So if you have a kind of swing that has a natural 20% launch angle, you're probably going to have a natural 20% long range on most pitches.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at those things because those are characteristics of the player. On the pitching side, you look at things like speed of the ball. If a guy's a 97-mile-an-hour pitcher, it's always going to be 97 miles an hour, right?
Till he gets hurt or till he gets older.
As long as he's pitching. Well, yeah, until that stuff happens. But
And-
it's like that's characteristic of who he is.
Okay.
And, and so those are the things I look at in the short stuff, and that's why I've been talking up Teoscar Hernandez since.
Yeah, I'm surprised you rooted against him in the trade because you are the first one.
I didn't really. I just thought.
No.
My experience with only leagues is that pitchers are gold if they're playing, and it's like if I were in an only league, well, it's like I've seen only leagues where the first 50 picks are 40 pitchers.
No, it's never. It's quite the opposite, actually.
Well,
but we're not gonna go into that.
I was for the trade. I like that.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. Can I respond to Doug?
Sure.
Velocity is very important, obviously, but I will take a starting pitcher with a 93 velocity of 93 who has got command, as opposed to one that's on 97 and doesn't have command.
The problem
is command is one of the most underrated.
Command is important, but the question is, can you judge a person's command based on 9 starts? And the answer to that is probably not.
Yeah.
I agree to you on a normal year where we're not looking at 60 days of data. You're right. There's better things to look at. Like I said, the way I interpreted the question was, what are we doing this year based on this?
See, I'm not even using 2020 statistics.
Antonio, what's your favorite?
I'm ignoring 2020. I'm keeping Yoan Moncada, who sucked. Okay? He stunk. And I'm keeping him at $17.
As you should. Yeah.
He had COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he didn't feel good. He didn't even attempt to steal a base. Okay.
I agree with you 100%. That's all I'm going to say because I drafted Moncada the other day for $11, and I'm not a fan of this guy, but I do think he's worth $11, so I put him on my team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's your turn, Antonio.
I mean,
did we already talk to you about this?
No.
Okay.
It's hard to narrow it down to one specific number, one specific stat. Everything that everyone mentioned is great. Malpal, I love yours for pitching. For hitting, I've seen things like we talked about David Fletcher earlier, and I was reading something where he had a very low barrel rate, where the percent of the barrel that he gets on the ball is an indicator of what kind of hitter he is. He's a high average hitter. He's a single digit home run guy. That's something you can use. I like what everyone brought up. If I'm going to use a stat, I look at weighted on base percentage.
Okay.
Because going back 2 years ago, and what weighted on base percentage is, all hits are not created equal, and it's the weight of each hit in relation to certain formulas and whatnot. And this is a stat I found out 2 years ago, because the leaders in weighted on base average 2 years ago in 2019, the top 5 were Christian Yelich, Cody Bellinger, top 2 in the MVP voting that year. 3rd was Mike Trout, who I think got MVP in the AL. 4th was Charlie Blackmon. 5th was Pete Alonso, who was Rookie of the Year and hit 53 home runs. So if you're going to look at a stat or take into consideration a stat, I think weighted on base average is something maybe you want to look at or delve into. But when it comes down to it, I'm with Mitch. And like Lenny does, go beyond the box scores. Yoan Moncada last year was battling COVID. It really affected him. It affected his lungs. He wasn't the same. Hunter Dozier, who Lenny loves, he battled COVID. We had these COVID all-stars from last year. Hunter Dozier wasn't the same. You look at his shortened season last year and what he did in 2019. I think the 2019 Hunter Dozier is what you're going to get. Last one, JD Martinez. I see him going for a dollar value of $19. This is a guy that was a 40 home run hitter before last year. He said, my mind wasn't into it. I was doing Zoom meetings. I was doing batting practice and working with hitting coaches through Zoom in my own home in the batting cage. He goes, I wasn't into it. I couldn't feel it. He goes, this year I feel like a baseball player again, and you're going to see it in, in my play and when I step up to the plate.
He only qualifies at utility, so that's something I think that is bringing his value cost down.
Yeah.
My favorite pitching stat to look at that's not just normal pitching stat, is how many hits they're allowing per inning. So if they have more than a hit allowed per innings pitched, then that's something that you can see as a red flag. So if you have a guy, really just look at the number of hits and compare it to the number of innings pitched. And if it's less, then it's probably a good sign that he's a decent pitcher. He's at least trying to keep runners off base. And for the batting side, I love contact rate. I will look at contact rate. You can find it on RotoWires where I find mine, but contact rate, that's for sure. So let's move to the next. Everybody got a chance, right, to tell us there's whatever they wanted about my misconstrued question. Okay. What's our next topic here?
I can't even remember what I said. So
I think it's position scarcity.
You said
right?
to add strikeout percentage to ground ball rate, and if it comes out to 70 or more, it's great. And I love that one, dude.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe in position scarcity? Which position is most scarce? And do you let it affect the inflation of a player? I mean, is it going to do reverse inflation? I don't know. Maybe Mitch can go first because this is another one of Mitch's topics.
I was listening to the labor NL draft.
Okay, that's my draft.
All right. I believe that first base is a scarce position this year. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I saw C.J. Cron go for almost the same price as just under Anthony Rizzo. And that's because when you wait and the fewer players left in the queue who are first basemen, the higher the price goes. I've had to find this out the hard way in auctions. And so you can't afford to get the person in the top tier all the time. But if you wait long enough to get any player, I don't care what position it is, if you wait long enough, the fewer players that are available by the time you get around to draft them, you might end up paying the same thing you would have paid if you'd have gotten someone a tier above. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I like C.J. Cron, by the way.
But
I like him a lot.
So you say that
go ahead.
You're saying that the first base position is the most scarce in National League only.
Most scarce, but it's among the scarce positions. Shortstop's loaded right now.
Shortstop is like freak, man. They're leftover shortstops at the end of the day.
Right.
So,
right.
Go ahead, Douglas.
Oh, I mean, I believe in position scarcity. We were just talking about earlier. It's like there's only so many people that close games. I mean, there's scarce decent catchers, but the nice thing is there's only one decent catcher, so everyone has crappy catchers. That's life, you know. I don't think first base is that scarce, but then again, you know, they're talking about NL only league. You got 12 teams vying for 15 starters. In the American League, it's quite different because there's 12 teams. If you're in an AL only league, you'd probably have 6 or 7 DHs that qualify at first base.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's a different thing entirely. But you know, I was looking at these guys at the end of the draft at first base, and I'm like, I don't mind Jared Walsh. I don't mind Bobby Dahlbeck.
Mm-hmm.
I literally in TFTBI, I didn't draft the first baseman until like the 17th round. I did pick 3 in the rounds coming out. I got Brandon Belt, Bobby Dahlbeck, and Mitch Moreland, and I think all of them are going to be fine.
Well, I mean, if you're Bobby Kleinow, you're saying hell no to Bobby Dahlbeck because he is not ever going to have a good batting average at all, right?
No.
Bobby?
No. Bobby Dahlbeck for me is just a.
Don't worry about it. I don't worry so much about having 1 or 2 guys that don't.
I'm just teasing you, dude.
Rob Deere.
Exactly. Good call, Rob Deere.
So
Adam,
let me ask this question. I'm going to reframe the question a little bit. Well, we kind of all agree that shortstop is like the deepest, and it really, I don't think it can even be argued that the player pool for shortstops is it goes crazy deep. So does that change your draft strategy when you're looking at guys like Trey Turner, Trevor Story? In the first couple rounds, there's several good shortstops that go like for a lot of money. Does it make you hesitate or think twice about putting one of these on your team when you know how deep this player pool is for shortstop? I'll start with whoever.
Can I? What is in short supply, not position wise, is guys that actually help in all 5 categories. And unfortunately, of the guys that can help in all 5 categories, like 6 of the top 12 are shortstops. So you kind of want to have those shortstops early because you're not going to get that later on. There's not as many players at other positions that do it.
If you okay.
Turner, so I'm drafting a shortstop early, almost by rote, because I feel that the advantage of having a 5 category player is going to be a whole lot better than having, Didi Gregorius or Dansby Swanson somewhere down the line.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about you, Malpal?
I don't, especially in an only league, but I don't really worry about scarcity for the first few rounds for reasons Douglas was saying. You go for the categories, set your base, and then you start worrying about filling in scarcity. I'll throw this out because when you go through these, I remember I went through a mock draft with you last year in a National League only, and it surprised me that in a 12-team only league, when you have to fill 5 outfielders, that's 60 outfielders that have to go, and there's only really 45 starters. It can get real scarce, and you don't want to be that team like in an AL league where you got Tyler Nyquin and Cameron Maben, and you name the other, DJ Stewart, and those are your three of your 5 outfielders. You have no chance.
Tyler Nyquin's with the Reds, by the way.
Mitchell, what do you think about draft strategy with scarcity? You think you're going to change your draft strategy due to the depth of the position?
Well, in the 15 team, when I talk, I should have prefaced my remarks.
Let's just do 12 teams.
Between a 12-team league and a 15-team league.
Okay.
So I was talking in the context of a 15-team league. And Doug is right. In a 15-team league with 4 outfielders, that's 60 if my arithmetic is right. And so he raises an interesting point where you don't normally think of outfielders as being scarce, but you're putting 4 of them on every team for 15 folks.
Yeah.
And so if you don't peel off some big money, now I've got Grisham on my keeper list, but I still need 3 more outfielders, and I don't have a lot of money. So that's going to be tough for me. I paid $6 in a fab bid for Santander last year because I screwed up the auction and got Nick Senzel and some other fools out there.
We've all been there.
Don't tell any you don't like. Well, Nick Senzel might be leading off, right? I
might get Senzel again. I can't stand not having faith.
Of all, according to their coach, of all their outfield possibilities, Senzel's the best fielder.
Okay.
Senzel was supposed to be a superstar.
Who?
Senzel was supposed to be a superstar.
Okay,
but he'll be good enough, especially for an only league, because if he gets 500 at bats, he's perfectly wonderful.
It's not hard to be the best defender, dude, in Cincinnati. Okay, it's just not the hard.
That's the reason he's going to play every day. The other guys can hit better than him, or at least are more likely to hit better than him.
Somebody needs to field the ball. Okay, so
Cincinnati's got a shortstop issue.
They have lots of defensive issues. Antonio.
I think second base is a little shallow.
It is.
I going on what Malpal said, the first couple of rounds, you get the categories. If someone falls to you that you feel, if there's a pitcher that falls to you, if Shane Bieber falls to you, it's kind of hard not to take a guy like that. If you're again going in with a specific strategy and trying to stick with it, you kind of got to go. go with what's presented to you. And I agree with Mitch on the auction front. When you wait on a scarce position, you're going to be paying $20 for a Christian Walker or paying relatively similar dollar amounts for a CJ Crone as to an Anthony Rizzo. So it's not like tight end in football where if you draft Travis Kelce in the first round, you get a distinct advantage. So there's really no, there's no catchers like that. There's no second baseman like that. So I agree with Malpal. You let the first couple rounds play out, get a sense for the draft or for the auction room, and then kind of go according from there.
I absolutely think that you do not. This is really important for only leagues. Do not be the last guy to get. Do not wait for the last good second baseman. Do not wait for the last shortstop. That's, I think, what we're all trying to say here is that if you do that, you are putting yourself in a position to spend twice what you have to on a player because he's the last one and somebody else needs that spot too. So, like,
aren't you going to be last at something? What would you suggest we be last at?
Catcher.
Well, everyone's going to be last catcher, but besides catcher.
I'm telling you that I don't think everybody's last at something. I really don't. I think that if you plan it out properly and you are paying attention to how many are left, each time somebody gets, it's not as easy as I'm trying to make it sound. I know that it's not that easy, but I don't believe that that everybody or somebody has to be last.
Somebody has to be last.
Somebody has to be last, but it doesn't have to be you.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Yes.
In an auction draft,
Yeah.
I got my 15-team mixed league.
Okay.
What if I throw out my first pitch, Alejandro Kirk, for $2?
You're gonna get him.
Throw that
You're going to get him.
past those dogs?
I like Alejandro Kirk, but he's not going to start the year in the majors. And so
No, I don't care. I'm all for punting and catching positions.
you're going to get him for $2 unless you have a real believer in your league.
Hold on. Why would you punt and then throw a catcher out for a couple bucks when you know you're going to get him?
Because I think Kirk is going to be a good hitter. Kirk is going to be a good hitter.
If you think,
I thought he was going to start the season, Doug, with a team. You're saying he's not?
I think he's going to be a good hitter. The problem was I was big on him in December, but they acquired Springer and Semien, and so there's not really room for him to play DH, so he's going to be behind those guys.
Well, they got to have two catchers. They got Danny Jansen. Who's the other catcher?
Reese McGuire.
Who?
Reese McGuire. Who's going to be the other guy?
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. Thanks.
don't punt anything, dude. Do not punt stuff going into your draft. It's bad. Don't punt.
The 26th catcher off the board in a mixed league is going to be just as good as the 8th catcher in the league. With a home run or two difference. The punt catchers.
Don't punt anything. You have to have a catcher in your. If you're going to punt something, punt a category. Don't punt a position. You have to fill the catcher spot with somebody.
Yeah, we have two catchers. I hate it.
No, catchers are traditional, but the thing about the catchers is, like, with the exception of the 4 or 5 at the top, you're looking at somebody that's going to get about 300 at bats, probably even less this year because there's fewer days off. I wrote to Andrew earlier when we were talking. I said, we're talking about how much we worry about a pitcher going from 9 starts to 30 starts, and we're thinking they're going to space things out. Something that's probably more difficult than throwing a pitch is squatting behind the plate for an entire game, as we see catchers break down, at least their quality year after year.
Here's a test question. How many of us in this room are going to lose our leagues because we don't have 950 innings?
Not me, dude.
Not me.
Easy. It's going to be easy to do. You get a starter that goes on the DL on the injured list. You got to go in and use your fab money or use your pool shots. You're scrambling.
That's what fab money's for.
Yeah. That's why I think veteran guys like a DeGrom, like a Scherzer, guys that have a history of a John Lester, a guy that, he had a little setback recently, but that guy is always rock solid for 150 innings. These guys can miss time. Justin Verlander, I know he's hurt, but these guys can miss time, and they can come back, slowly build themselves up, and they're going to get you 170 to 200 innings like they always do. So I think, a lot of Zach Greinke, I think a lot of these guys
I agree. Veterans.
Yeah, veteran guys that have a track record, of pitching. I love Lester. I think he is so underrated. If his thyroid issue is okay, which it seems like it is, that's a guy. There's 150 innings there. Just going by his track record. I know he's 37, but
would you think I'm nuts if I told you I'm thinking about Wainwright?
No.
Matt Moore is being talked about more than Adam Wainwright. And
Adam Wainwright is having a great spring right now.
Amazing guy.
He looks healthy.
Huh?
I like Wainwright.
Can I ask one quick question here?
Absolutely, dude.
My question is, we're talking a lot about the shortstops, and we talk about position scarcity. What about statistical scarcity? And I think talking about stolen bases is a very interesting piece here because it's going away. And I remember not too long ago, a guy like Billy Hamilton, who was a one category guy, would still go for double figures, double digits in auction leagues, even though he was a pinch runner. So my question is, somebody like Adalberto Mondesi right now, who is coming off a little bit of a down year, he's plays the same position as your Trevor Storys and your Lindors and your Correas and all these sexy names, is where does he rank from a hierarchy standpoint with these other guys because he's such a stolen base threat and there's a scarcity of stolen bases? I know there's a collection of 30 stolen base guy, but we're talking about Mondesi's like a 70 stolen base guy, potentially 70, 80 stolen base guy. Where do you guys rank a guy like that comparatively to the field?
High.
You rank him high?
He's going to hurt your batting average, but
depends where you get him. It depends if he can stay healthy. That's a guy that has a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
In an auction draft, how much just off the top of your head would you go for a Mondesi?
25.
He's going to go.
If Trevor Story's going to go for 40, 45,
right,
what does Mondesi fall?
I do 25 to 27.
You probably wouldn't get him.
I'd say 32 to 35 because you're going to have multiple people that like him. And
range, I wouldn't pay it though.
No, I wouldn't pay it either. But I think if there's a player you like, you go get them. If there's a player you like, don't say, oh, he falls into a 5th round range. But if there's a chance you might not get him, if you're in the 3rd round and there's a chance you might not get him with your next pick, take him. It's who you like and who you believe in.
Yeah, that's why I like auctions better than Snake.
I agree. Me too.
Snake, you have no control over who you get. You're just going by whatever luck somebody forgets to take someone and your turn comes up. In theory, you can get anybody that's out there in an auction league.
I know I'm contrary in a lot of things, but I actually don't think that stolen bases are short supply because everyone's in the same boat. There's literally 2 guys, maybe 3 guys that are going to steal 30 bases in all of baseball, and I'm perfectly fine with allowing the teams that are going to commit to stolen bases to get the 12 and 11 points or the 15, 14, 13. But there's a lot of points left. If you can come in second among the remainder, you're going to get 9, and it doesn't take a lot as long as you're paying attention to stolen bases along the way. As long as you are picking 5 category guys before 4 category guys, and you don't forget that people get so enamored with the home run, and the home run's important because it also pushes runs. But you go, I need to pick guys along the way that do at least steal a little bit, and well, no, I'm not going to say that.
Okay, hold on a second. What position? Doesn't he play outfield? I can't find him here.
Who?
Mondesi.
Shortstop.
Oh, no wonder I can't find him. Okay. I'm going to tell you what he went. I will never have him on my team just because I don't. Here's just a good way that I can think of to explain about the stolen base thing. I never see people that lead in stolen bases win their league.
Exactly.
usually people that lead in stolen bases are not at the top of the league. But the one stat that I can tell you that Kevin actually told me last year when we were at first pitch was runs. There's a correlation here. The more runs that the team has, the more basically everybody that finished at the top of their league and the top 3 of their league are also at the top 3 of the runs scored. So that one does correlate, but stolen bases, I mean, people that win their leagues could be like hella low on stolen bases. As long as you have a few stolen bases, I think it would be better to focus on a different category. That's just me.
And it's kind of nice to be a little bit behind stolen bases because there's that team that's got 177 stolen bases that's in 10th place. You can always trade for one of their guys and move up a few spots.
And I think saves can be very similar to stolen bases sometimes, where you're going to get a Hunter Harvey might be the equivalent of a Miles Straw, where they're going to get 20 steals or 20 saves later in a draft, but they're a specialist. And then, like Doug said, usually you're going to have someone that's way out in the pack, and they can, right, give them first place, or if you're in the leader in the pack of saves or steals, you could trade and you drop a point or drop 2 points, but gain 4 or 5 points. So a lot of variables in it, but I agree. I mean, if you get them sprinkled throughout your draft, I mean, I think that helps, a cumulative kind of effect.
Sure.
So yeah.
I mean, maybe wishful thinking a little bit on my part, because I look at last year's totals and I see so many guys that have like 7 stolen bases or 8 stolen bases. Like you talk about Robbie Grossman, and in your head you're like multiply by 2.5, and that's noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Tasker Hernandez. If he has 2.5 times his 7 stolen bases this year, he could be a 30-21 guy. Robbie Grossman 8-8. He could be a 20 stolen. He could be a 20 stolen base guy.
Hey, how about Marcus Semien? People are forgetting this guy was 3rd in MVP voting 2 years ago. Goes to Toronto. He's going to fall into 9 or 10 steals. You just having a handful of guys like that, that's going to keep you in the mix for steals. And then you can, if a Mondesi is having a great year, or if there's a guy that emerges like a Straw, or Lenny said, was it JD Oliva for Pittsburgh? Someone like that. Go.
Or my guy, the Miller on Chicago. Miller in the spring training on Chicago has 3 stolen bases, only 2 at bats.
Chicago Miller, who? Which Miller? Which Chicago?
He was the Chicago Cubs. He's the guy they got from Seattle. He's just a runner. He almost made a team last year. If he makes a team this year, he's a runner.
I love Joey Wendell. Joey Wendell is my boy. He is going to qualify at 3 or 4 different positions, and he will steal bases. And he has a decent batting average that will not kill you. Okay, he is wonderful.
But it's Tampa that drives you crazy, Andy.
That's the thing.
Play everybody every day. Tampa drives you crazy. They never play the same person every day.
Yeah, almost nobody plays every day.
When you're getting this guy this late in drafts, you can be sure that he will live up to what you paid for him. Okay, that's my opinion. And what about John Birdie? I love John Birdie because he does the same thing. And Colton Wong is always good for a few stolen bases late.
Yeah.
And there's a guy somebody was saying second base is not deep. It's like there's a guy who almost goes undrafted. It's going to steal you 15 bases, lead off for his team, and nobody likes him, and that's Cesar Hernandez.
I like.
He didn't have a steal. That's interesting. He didn't have a steal last year.
It was a weird year, but every year
it was a weird year. But he had 9. He had 9 the year before, and then I think he had 15. And he's 31. So
watch out on that one. Do not expect a lot of steals from him. But
like people will say about players that they're free. He's free, and I'm not expecting a ton. I'm expecting like 15-10 in that area. And if he falls short at 8, I'm okay with that.
Every year, I think
5, dude. The stolen bases are never going to go up for a player. They're always going to go down, especially at age 30. But he is leading off. He does have a great batting average. He will get on base, and so he'll score runs for sure.
Another guy nobody likes is Elvis Andrus. Should steal you 10 bases.
I like him. I like him in Oakland.
He's still not. I mean, I'm just saying, like I'm 350 picks into a draft, and these guys
Right.
aren't.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's.
I think there is stolen bases at the back end over there.
What about? Hey, let me ask this. What about in a mixed league? A guy that covers second base and a guy that steals bases gets 600 plus at bats. Whit Merrifield, he's 32. Are you expecting a decline, or is that a? Let me ask this to Mitch. Whit Merrifield, is that a rock solid pick? Do you feel you're going to get, even though he's 32 and he plays for Kansas City, can you expect, 600 at bats of a good average, 15 homers and 20 to 25 steals this year?
I actually have Whit Merrifield as a keeper. I am expecting some reduction in speed that's age related, but he's still going to get probably 25 steals. I'm looking at 550, 525 plate appearances, Antonio. I don't think he's going to get. I mean, just because he's 32, that's not ancient, but
no,
he's got a lot of tread on the tire. But I still think he's great. I mean, for $10 I'm paying, that's a deal.
He had 681 at bats 2 years ago.
And 700 before that. I mean, this guy gets 600 at bats.
He's a terrific ball player, no doubt about it.
Who's got a higher ADP, Mondesi or
Merrifield?
Merrifield.
Hold on.
I think it's
Hold on, I'll tell you, Mel.
Mondesi, I think. But I'm not.
It's Mondesi. RotoWire. It's Mondesi.
It'll be
Mondesi is 17 spots higher than Merrifield.
Yeah, I think Merrifield's just a way better player.
Yeah.
He's going to get you bats, and he's a good hitter. I don't know if Mondesi's a good hitter yet. He's a 250 type hitter, and unless he develops another skill like power or increases his batting average, he's going over draft.
Well, his on base average is what, 290? That's his career on base average.
I don't think
it's under 300. It's not good.
We have somebody on Facebook that's commenting and wants to hear your. I don't know. He says he can't wait to hear who you like, Antonio.
He put that up there a while ago. That was posted at.
Oh,
he's still here though.
8:54.
Who?
Jody Santos.
Oh, Jody's one of those guys that overdrafts saves. He drafts 8 running backs in football. He drafts 9 closers.
Okay.
Jody, who do I like in general? I mean, that's a tough one. I like Yohan Moncada to bounce back. I really do. I think I like that whole lineup. I think that's a packed lineup. Usually, you got to be careful when there's big expectations for a team like that. But I think.
Wait, is this guy in your league you haven't drafted yet? He's in your leagues.
Yeah, that's fine. It's
you can't
fine.
Tell him who you like. It's a secret.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I like. I don't like any. I'll tell you who I don't like, and that's most of the Red Sox pitchers. So
that's
they got rid of Mike Kickham, so that's good. But
great pitcher right there.
Tanner Houck. Hey, Bobby.
I like EO a little bit.
You have your. Do you have all your posters up and stuff for your draft? Are you getting ready to draft soon?
Well, because of it's funny, we were just talking about that. Because of COVID, I have them all written out, but I actually rented out a space this year.
What?
Yeah, instead of having them in my apartment. So I'll tell you guys what Andrea is saying is in my small living room here, I put up 12 posters on the wall, and I have a live auction draft in my little living room, and I pack in 13 guys. That's 12 owners and an auctioneer in here. But we this year, because of some sensitivities people have, we rented out a space and we're doing it over there. So.
But don't you have like all your stuff on the wall? That you prepare, you put all your like notes up there and stuff to get ready, right? Is that true?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do. I don't have them right now, but I have them. I have them on the poster boards in the back room, just not in the living room. My saint of a wife lets me have them up for about a month, usually.
Those are awesome.
As I prep for the season.
Yeah. Okay, well, good luck with that draft, dude. And everybody, I'm glad you're feeling better. You're looking fine. You're looking good. Did you get Taste back yet?
No taste. I had COVID, guys. I'm on the back end of it, but yeah, no taste at all.
So
Can't do it.
you fall into the recovered statistic, right? You're
Yeah.
what part of the recovered? Good.
100%.
Vaccine, Bobby?
I have not.
Obviously not, since he just had
But I
COVID.
mean, I would think that somehow the system would, if somebody's got it, maybe you can't take the vaccine while you're still having an active infection. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got antibodies in him for 3 months.
He's good.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for coming on. If there's anything else that you wanted to add, then please go ahead and do that.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thanks for hosting.
Next Monday.
Nice to see you guys and see your faces and match them now with your name.
Awesome.
See everybody soon.
You too, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Take care.